Well, it's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. That means we get to review AEW Dynamite. This is their final go home show. Before we get to the Saturday's full gear, a lot of things take place. What interesting things are going to happen before we get there? So, we're going to be reviewing that. But first things first, we're going to review two events that took place on November 12th. One is by, of course, Extreme Pro Wrestling with Extreme Invasion, where they head to New Jersey, where some interesting matches took place, mostly involving death matches. And then, of course, we have ICW No Holds Bars. Two championship matches will be put on the line, and a very interesting things have been taking place over there. And plus, some news updates, what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So let's begin with Extreme Pro Wrestling, or XPW, with Extreme Invasion. This took place on the 12th of November in Jersey. Our opening match is a championship match. It's for the XPW Heavyweight Championship with Masada as the champion and challenger Willie Mack. Now, this is one of those matches where, of course, one thing that Willie Mack does not like is the skewers. You know, those sharp objects that they put in your forehead, the top of your head, and try to press down on you. That's one of his biggest weaknesses. Now, however, in this particular match, you probably would have assumed Willie Mack would have gone out, would have won it, but no, Masada, who has a much better experience than him, putting a lot of death matches in this whole thing, helped him out when he applied a Hurricanrana in order to poison Rana in order to pick up the win, and it was over right from there. Now our next match we have Colin Delaney taking on Kit Osborne. So basically, Colin Delaney decided to call out whoever comes out. So Kit Osborne comes out and accepts the challenge. Now, of course, Colin Delaney's manager, being the prick that he is, I don't know what's his name, shows up, tried to give him the helping hand, but it did not work. Apparently, Kit Osborne was able to apply a somewhat of a submission onto um, Colin Delaney to give him the win. Next up, we got Jody Threat versus Mother Endless. Very interesting matchup, how it is. I don't recall if Jody Threat's ever been involved in death matches, but it seems pretty solid. But this match really was really good. Really interesting how it's going to go. But it was, of course, a pinfall right after Jody Threat put Mother Endless through the door. 1, 2, 3, it's done. Next up, we got a three-way body bag death match. Now, this match is all you have to do is put your opponent in a body bag and drag them out. We have Hard Body versus the Soul Taker versus a Sexy Eddie. Now, Sexy Eddie, I don't know what in the world is he doing in this type of match. He's the kind of guy who's wearing one of those underwears that you use when you wear a cup. Guys, you know what I'm talking about. But Soul Taker doesn't seem amused. Hard Body was trying to reason with him, but seems Soul Taker was the one that picked up the win because he put Hard Body in the bag and he dragged him out, giving him the win. Next up is the XPW Fight TV title in a 2-on-1 handicap match. Now, last time we reviewed this event, this title was won by Kat Martini, thanks to the help of her friend, what's her name, Ludrak Shaitan. Well, this time it's kind of interesting that now that this is a 2-on-1 match for that title, it was kind of interesting. Now, keep in mind, Martini doesn't need to be pinned on this one, but they were able to hold it out. But however, in this match, it was a pinfall made by a double pinfall that was made while Ludra put Cat right on top of Summer Sage Sin Supreme into a pinfall submission to retain the title. Nobody seems like they like her to be the champion after what happened last week. It was a very controversial win, as they say, but we'll see what happens then. Next up, we got those bastards from MAGA, Necro Butcher, or he calls himself MAGA Butcher, to take on Bobby Beverly. Now, to me, I would have assumed Bobby Beverly would have won because he is involved in death matches a lot, but of course, we get the help of those idiots from MAGA to help out. But it was Necro Butcher with the Gator roll that allowed him to win the match and set up a statement. Now, our next match, we have a three-way. We have Lucky 13, Green Phantom, and Wax. Now, this was a much intense match that I never witnessed. I never heard of these two guys, Green Phantom and Wax. Lucky 13 I have, but I did not. I was like impressed with Wax could do. He's like a bit of a crazy, but it was the Green Phantom with the the Phantom Menace that allowed him to pick up the win, and yeah, but he picked up the win with a pinfall finisher called the Phantom Menace, made from the Star Wars film. If you guys know what I'm talking about. Now our next match is the XPW King of the Death Matches title in a 200 light tubes match. We have Schlank versus Drake Younger, who won a previous tournament on the last event. I thought this match was so brutal, but it took a bit of a running lariat to finish off. But however, once the match was over, MAGA shows up and attacks Schlank. It appears that Necro Butcher, who lost to Schlank for that title, is asking it for a bit of another opportunity. But in the process of that, Necro Butcher steals the belt until he gets what he wants. They're trying to prove that their faction is now the most dominant one. So we'll just wait and see what happens then. And I'm sure Slank's going to be very, very pissed that his title was stolen. And of course, Necro Butcher is trying to make it clear he earns that title. So we'll see what happens then. So we'll move on to our next review, which is ICW No Holds Barred. Okay, ICW No Holds Barred, Volume 36. This also took place on the 16th at another location. It opened up with Danny DeMonto throwing a promo. I don't recall what he said, but you know how it is. Now, first match, we have Akira, the Deaf Samurai, taking on Bam Sullivan. I thought this match was great. Now, I'm a big Akira fan. He is amazing. And I think Akira can throw in a good match when it comes to this. And I think it was really amazing. But it was Akira with a pinfall that allowed him to win against Bam Sullivan. It was pretty impressive. Next match, we got Gary J versus Aaron Williams. Also another good match. Aaron Williams seems like he was a solid wrestler to win in this particular one, but he put up a very impressive figure four pile driver. Now keep in mind, this is where you put your legs on top of the neck and pile drive them in the way. It was a very unique maneuver. I never heard of anything like that. If there was, I have to say it was very impressive. Next up, we have Christian Ross from H2O taking on Chris Bradley. Another good match, a very brutal death match you probably would have enjoyed. A lot of tubes being used and all this and that. But it was, in fact, Christian Ross with a Death Valley driver on top of the light tubes that allowed him to pick up this win. Next up, we got Brandon Kirk versus Danny DeMonto. Now, this is a very interesting story. Brandon Kirk is dealing with the whole crap that his wife, Casey, has put him through, this being disrespectful to him. It appears now that people are still are opening up to him. However, they still say F the Kurtz. So basically, he's embracing it. And I have to say, he is now rising up to the occasion because every time we see him in a death match, he hardly wins his matches. But now, ever since this whole crap with his wife is taking a toll, it's now making him focus that he needs to be better at who he is. And I think that tells us a very good storyline that we can enjoy. But it was so brutal. You probably imagine Danny Namanto, who has much better experience than Brandon Kirk, would have won. But no, it was Danny Namanto it was Brandon Kirk who picked up the win by applying his finisher, the Psycho Driver, on top of steel chairs that were already folded up on top of each other, and bam, that was a good match. Next match we have Dr. Redacted taking on Hoodfoot. Another brutal match. I have to say, Dr. Redacted really took a lot of beating, not to mention a lot of effery going around. As you know, this is one of those matches that he shows, I'm not going to quit. And I think that tells it all. But Hoodfoot with a backdrop pile driver on top of the door allowed him to pick up the win with the pinfall. 1, 2, 3. I thought it was a good match. Next up, we got the IWTV Independent Wrestling World title defended. We have Crow defending that title against Matt Tremont. Now, recently, if you guys remember, Matt Tremont lost to Casey Catal, or as we know her, Casey Kurt. Thanks to Crow, we don't know what was his purpose, not to mention there have been at each other's faces recently. Crow appearing at his promotion, that sort of thing. I thought this match was so insane. Now, you probably would have thought Matt Tremont would have got his revenge on Kroll for costing him the title and, of course, invading his territory. However, he would have gotten away with it, but if it wasn't for the incredible strength by Kroll, who actually grabbed him by the throat, and then tossed him out of the ring, landing on top of glass, giving him the win. Now, our main event is the ICW American Deathmatch World Title. We have Mickey Knuckles taking on Casey Catal, or we as know her, Casey Kurt. As you know, Casey Kirk has been very impressive as a competitor. As you know, she accomplished a lot as champion. Now this title has taken a toll on her, but now she's facing not a wrestler who's a slouch. So basically, in this one, it took two 187s by Casey to pick up the win, and I thought it was a pretty good one. And Mickey actually gave Casey her dues. As you know, there are not a lot of women involved in death matches, but I say Casey's one of those that we can definitely talk about how far she has come as a death match wrestler. I think that's pretty much it with this particular review. Let's talk with our final one, AEW Dynamite. All right, our final review, AEW Dynamite. This is the final go home show before the Saturday's Full Gear, which we're all excited about. It opened up with Jericho and Sammy Guevara teaming up to take on Blackpool Combat Club's Claudio Castagnoli and Bryan Danielson. Now, keep in mind, all four of these individuals will be involved for the Ring of Honor World Championship in a four-way. Now, Jericho made it perfectly clear to Sammy that he will do the right thing and lay himself on the back, while he believes that Claudio Castagnoli and Bryan Danielson, will beat the crap out of each other. Now, keep in mind, the Blackpool Combat Club, they always fight each other just for good competition. So we'll see how that plays out. But this particular match showed a lot of promising, but the real question does remain, who walks in with the momentum? In this case, it was Blackpool Combat Club when Castagnoli managed to put Jericho in the spinning thingy with the baseball bat still being in play, and then he applied the Scorpion Deathlock onto him, and Jericho had no other choice but to tap. And I thought it was a pretty good match, not to mention attacking the same spot where Bryan Danielson bled out the last time, thanks to Sammy Guevara. Now, our next segment, as you know, we see a body bag being found. It was in fact Sting, and he tells Darby it's showtime. So it was a direct message to Jeff Jarrett and Jelito. As you know, last time their rivalry never ends, but of course Jarrett is happy that he did it, and he said that this will be his final showtime. Don't count out Sting yet. Sting refuses to stay down, just like Darby. So that's going to be very interesting to follow. Now, uh, before our next match, the Acclaim introduced a new video indicating that they will walk out as the current AEW World Tag Team Champions. But they had a very interesting video where uh, Paul White actually dressed up as Camp the Insano. If you guys know this or not, he filed a trademark for that name, and it helped. And I thought it was a pretty funny opening for the music video, so it was great. However, it was a very tough match. In the next one, where we have Anthony Bowens versus Swerve Strickland. Now, Keith Lee wasn't there. Now, keep in mind, Keith Lee is in the moment where he's not sure what to think anymore. We have seen what Swerve has become and all this other stuff. But however, Caster and Billy were told to head back to the back due to the fact that Billy hasn't forgotten what Swerve did to him. And I thought this match was great with Bowens, who had like that definition, like, I refuse to quit, never say die type of attitude. But however, it was the stomp by of course Swerve that finished off Bowens and giving him the momentum to ensure that maybe that is the possibility that he and Lee will regain the AEW World Tag Team titles. Now, a lot of questions did remind. We saw what happened last week. Samoa Joe attacked Wardlow. He gave his little rundown why he did it. Basically, it was more like he's trying to get the attention as well. Keep in mind, being a TNT champion, you have targets all over the place. Powerhouse Hobbs, as you know, he will not let someone like Samoa Joe try to take his thunder. It ended with all three big men try to beat each other up. It took many people from security and the backstage locker room to try to separate them. But Wardlow was able to take out the security, and Dark Order, who were right there, just like, you know what? Go ahead, do your business. And he took out both Hobbs and Joe in the process, putting himself as the last man standing. However, it was already announced that, of course, that the TNT title will be defended in a three-way. So it's going to be Powerhouse Hobbs versus Samoa Joe versus Wardlow. Now, if Samoa Joe wins, he becomes double champion. Now, our next match is the AEW World Trios Championship. We have R.A. Fox top flight with, of course, Darius Martin making his return after that horrific car accident he got himself into, and he's back then against Death Triangle. I thought this match was amazing. A lot of good spots. I have to say, R.A.R. Fox, who's been in the game for far too long, he deserves a lot his dues, knowing that he put up a good match. It would have been upset, but no, it took the Black Arrow by Pac in order to, of course, pick up the win. Now, however, during the post-match, they put out a promo saying that they're not stupid, that they've been seeing the videos, if you guys know what I'm talking about. It appears, it seems, the Death Triangle deleted the Elite. So basically, the question is, who will be the opponents to challenge them for the AEW World Trios Championship, Tag Team Championship. However, it was already now revealed as soon as possible that it's going to be none other than Elite, who we haven't seen since All Out after that whole thing with the backstage altercation. So that's something we will be seeing. So looks like it's going to happen. Now, Ricky Starks, as you know, he was supposed to have his match against Lance Archer for the AEW World Title Eliminator, but however, Lance Archer decided to postpone it, and now that match will take place at Rampage, so we'll be looking forward to that. Now, we do have the continuing on with more of the AEW World Title Eliminator match in the semifinals. We have Ethan Page versus Bandito. I thought this match was pretty good because it showed Bandito what a great wrestler he is. When we saw Ethan Page applying an avalanche Ego's Edge, somehow Bandito countered it and got away with it. It was amazing. I think many people say this would have been a good match, but I think they're telling the story how Ethan Page is determined. He was able to pick up the win by applying the Ego's Edge and win the match, but he did stated that he's the one who's going to walk out to win the Eliminator and go to Winter's Coming to challenge either Mox or Max. So basically, that's what's going to happen. Now, We have another eliminator match involving the AEW Interim Women's Championship. We have Anna Jay versus Toni Storm. Now, Anna Jay, as you know, has proven a lot, so much what she can do, but however, she's facing against a very tough and pound wrestler like Toni Storm. However, it took a lot of momentum for Toni Storm to pick up the good win when she applied the Texas Cloverleaf, forcing Anna Jay to win. However, after the post match, Jamie Hayter shows up and telling her face to face that she will beat her and take that title away, and she claims that there will be no more interim women's championship. Well, it still will be because Thunder Rosa is still the women's champion. Now we do get a little promo in the end of this of show where John Moxley talks about MJF, all this and that. But at some point, it was interrupted by Stokey Hathaway, that little piece of weasel, along with the firm that attacked Moxley. However, MJF comes out and takes out every last member of the firm, and he told them that he will put his foot up their butts no matter what. Now, he even gave his little piece of words to Moxley, telling him that he's the devil and all this other stuff. So he's telling him to bring it out. So we will see a good match between those two. But the obvious question is, will MJF finally pick up the win as he should have done a long time ago? Well, we'll see. Because I know many fans are determined that this is going to be MJF's time. So we'll see about that. I think that's pretty much it with AEW right now and also other reviews. It's time for some news updates. Okay, welcome to our news updates. MLW has announced that they signed a multi-year deal term with the Bullington Bulldogs. If you guys don't know who they are the nephews of the late Dynamite Kid and cousins of Davey Boy Smith Jr., or as we know him, Harry Smith. Now, as you know, Davey has been working with them the entire time to bring them. According to Court Bauer, he's been trying to bring these two brothers to come to the promotion. It appears now we're going to happen. They could be the next team that could win the MLW World Tag Team titles. That is something we could definitely see. So I'm very looking forward to seeing them when they step into an MLW ring. Now, there's been very interesting reports coming out about something that happened before Vince decided to step away from WWE. It appears that he was determined to send Gunther back to NXT, and many of us were like, what the hell? Now, we have been impressed by Gunther a long time, even before he had his name change. And I think that's kind of like, what the hell? This is what I don't know what was the reasons of why he wanted to send him back, but I think right now he's doing way much better than he ever was under the reign of Triple H, and I'm very grateful that that did not happen. I mean, Gunther is really amazing, so I love what he can do. Now, since today is November 16th, over there in Japan is November 17th. Today is the birthday of none other than Meiko Satomura, the final boss. So happy birthday, Meiko Satomura, and I hope you're having a wonderful time. Now, finally, Wrestling Revolver has announced for their last event of the year, season finale, Rocky Romero will make his debut with the promotion on the 3rd of December. I'm looking forward to it to see. It's great that someone representing New Japan will be on their way to Wrestling Revolver, and it's still undetermined who will be his opponent. So we'll be seeing that soon enough. And I think that's pretty much it, what we have for everything. I believe it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we got the latest Choco Pro event 267, I believe. We're going to have 3 matches in that involved. And of course, we got MLW as we continue on with the brand new season. And of course, we cannot forget Impact Wrestling. If there's any news updates going around, I will put up about that. So we'll see from there what we're going to go on. I still am waiting for Watch Pro Wrestling to upload the last 2 events involving the Stardom Goddesses of Tag League. As you know, we already passed certain events. Um, I'm also thinking about doing a discussion about an article that was posted on a blog by this guy Dana, talking about Mayu Iwatani from 2020 to 2022. Certain things that led from the betrayal of Saki Kashima to a somewhat of betrayal by Tam Nakano to form Cosmic Angels, her fallout dealing with Oda Tai, putting her in dark places, and how she's been lifted up to become the leader that she is with Stars. And of course, all the way to what we are expecting, a historical monumental moment where she could become the first ever IWGP Women's Champion. So I will be discussing that as well. So stand by on that. And if there's anything else, I will be reporting else at different timings at certain times. Keep in mind, I do have a regular day job. It may take a while, but I'll do the best I can to report it as soon as possible. So I think that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.